Hey, and welcome back to Taking Back. In this video, we are going to be talking about my very first seizure. My very first seizure happened, I want to say, last year, May 7th. The reason why I can remember that is because my partner, his birthday is May 6th, and I remember we were going to a hotel out here in Vegas, and to have for his birthday, and then we came back, and May 7th I had my seizure. So it's kind of pretty easy to remember. So today I'm going to be giving you guys a little insight of how my seizure happened, how it progressed, what I was feeling, everything like that. Now with some of my, well, not some, but with all of my seizures, I have realized that my memory is not as good as it once was. I'm going to be doing a video probably like next week or the week after about how seizures and P.N.E.S can actually, and they have found out that it can actually mess with your memory. So because of that, I am reading from my notes. So if you see me looking down, that is why. So when I had my first seizure, if I can remember right, I was in the living room and all I felt was hot. I felt hot and I felt numb, and like my legs were going to sleep. Like they felt very numb and tingly, and I couldn't for the life of me figure out what was going on. And on the other side of the room, my partner, Simon, was on a business call, so I was trying to just figure it out on my own. So it just the tingliness wouldn't go away. The cloudiness of like my brain was very fuzzy and cloudy. That wouldn't go away and was really weird. I couldn't move. Like I felt like I was paralyzed. And so that maybe lasted, I don't really know how long it lasted, but he got off the phone, he came into the living room, and I told him what was going on, and I believe if I can remember right, I believe he was worried that I was having a mini stroke because of some of the symptoms I was having, like numbness in my hands and everything, which I have had before. I have had a stroke before. Comment down below if you want a video on that. So we decided, oh, you know what, let's go to bed. Let's spend the rest of the day in our room quiet, because we lived with dogs, so it was better to just be quiet and no sound for the rest of the day. And I was completely happy with that. So we woke up the next day, and I was feeling not myself. Like I wasn't completely out of it, but I wasn't there. I wasn't present with anything. So we're like, okay, let's just make sure it's not a stroke or anything like that. Let's go to the ER. So we went to the ER, and they were like, okay, well, obviously they didn't know what it was. So they wanted to keep me overnight. So I stayed there for 3 nights, and they ran test after test after test, and they couldn't figure out what's wrong until finally they did a video EEG, which is where they do an EEG. They hook everything up to your head, and then they put a video, like a video camera recorder, in your room so they can see you having a seizure, and they can match it up with your brain waves or whatever. And while they were hooking me up and everything, I had a seizure in that moment. So that's when they were like, okay, this is what it is. This is P.N.E.S. P.N.E.S is psychogenic non-epileptic seizures. So we're like, what the heck is that? They sent me home with a little pamphlet and it was just like a high what's that word? A high visual of what P.N.E.S was, a high description. It wasn't like in detail. It was just like, oh, well, you have seizures because of past trauma, basically. So I was like, okay, cool. And then while I was in the hospital, my sister came down, I'm not really sure, from Colorado, just to be an extra hand to help out around the house and keep me company, because I did not want to like move. I didn't want to get out of bed. I felt like I was very lethargic, and I just was gone. Like, I was present physically, but emotionally and mentally, I was gone. So she came and hung out with me for a couple of days. And then fast forward to today, present day, I am learning about what some of my symptoms, or not symptoms, but my triggers are for a seizure. So if I get really cold, and it's not like, oh, I'm cold. It's like I'm cold to the bone. Like, my bones feel like they're ice. They are cold. So if I get too cold, then I will go into having a seizure. If I get too much anxiety, I go into a seizure. If I get overwhelmed, overstimulated, like there's too many noises, there's someone's talking over here, someone's talking over here, the phone is ringing, the dog is barking, the baby is crying, you bet I'm about to be having a seizure. Okay, so far that's all we have found that triggers my seizures. So when we found this out, we were out here in Vegas, and when I was in Colorado, I had already been to EMDR, and I had already been to therapy. So we're like, okay, well, maybe we should get back in touch with my therapist and see, like, keep that going. So I started therapy again for a little bit, and that seemed to kind of help. It's still very much, I have a seizure when I have a seizure. It just does what it wants. But so that's my story of my first seizure and my first experience with P.N.E.S. and how I am dealing with it, and how the symptoms I am having and everything like that. So if you like this video, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up, subscribe down below, and in the next video, we will be talking about my first time dissociating. That was a trip, let me tell you. So, once again, if you like this video, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up, subscribe down below, and we'll see you guys next Monday.